The spotlight hit like a freight train, blinding Eli Rivera in the middle of his audition riff, and for one split second, he swore he heard his grandfather's gravelly voice echoing from the wings. "Trash like your fairy father, you'll never amount to more." But then the piano crashed into the chorus of Defying Gravity, and Eli's voice soared, raw and unyielding, shattering the silence like glass under boot heels. In that frozen heartbeat before the judge's applause erupted, he glimpsed his family's faces in the dim house lights. His mother's tear-streaked smile, his sister's wide-eyed awe, and Grandpa Ruiz, stone-faced in the front row, fists clenched like he was holding back a storm. New York City in late summer was a beast, all sweat-slick sidewalks and honking taxis that drowned out your thoughts if you let them. Eli had grown up in the shadow of those streets, in a cramped walk-up in the Bronx where the fire escape rattled like bones in the wind. At 22, he was still crashing on his cousin's couch after dropping out of community college. Music theory too dry for the fire in his gut. His dad, Javier, had been the real singer, the one who'd belt show tunes in the kitchen while flipping eggs, his laugh booming like thunder over the sizzle. But Javier Rivera was gone now, 6 feet under in a Queens cemetery, felled by a heart attack at 48, leaving behind a widow who prayed too hard and a son who sang to ghosts. Eli's voice was his rebellion, inherited like the curve of his jaw and the stubborn cowlick that no gel could tame. He'd busk in Washington Square Park on weekends, hat out for quarters from tourists who mistook him for a street poet. "Kids got pipes," they'd say, tossing $1. But family? That was a different audience. His mother's side, the Ruizes, were old-school Puerto Rican stock, church on Sundays, machismo Mondays through Friday, and zero tolerance for that lifestyle. Eli's dad had been the outlier, the soft-spoken graphic designer who'd married into the family with a rainbow pin hidden in his cufflinks. They'd whispered about him from day one. "Javi's too gentle, too artsy." When Eli came out at 16, fumbling the words over Eras con Gandals at Easter dinner, Grandpa Ruiz had slammed his fork down. "Like father, like son. Weak blood. You'll end up trash, mijo. Just like him." That word, trash, stuck like tar in Eli's throat. It fueled the late nights in dingy karaoke bars, the voice lessons scraped together from gig money, the endless loops of cast albums on his cracked phone. He wasn't just singing for himself anymore. He was singing for Javier, for every queer kid in the barrio who'd ever hidden a crush behind a tough guy swagger. And tonight, in the bowels of the Gershwin Theater, he was auditioning for Wicket's ensemble. His shot at the Great White Way, the one his dad had dreamed of but never chased. Backstage buzzed like a hive, dancers stretching in leotards, actors murmuring lines under their breath. Eli paced the green room, script clutched like a lifeline, his heart jackhammering. He'd lied to get here, told his mom he was meeting friends instead of dropping her last $50 on headshots. She didn't know about the callback. Hell, she barely knew about the open mic wins stacking up on his Instagram. But Grandpa Ruiz? He'd caught wind somehow, probably from Eli's tia who couldn't keep a secret if it was gift-wrapped. "You're wasting time on fairy tales," the old man had growled over the phone last week. "Get a real job, or don't come crawling back." The stage manager's voice crackled over the intercom. "Rivera, you're up." Eli wiped sweaty palms on his jeans, faded Levi's his dad had worn threadbare, and stepped into the light. The panel was a who's who. Director in a crisp button-down, choreographer with a clipboard, vocal coach who looked like she'd seen 1,000 broken dreams. No pressure. He launched into the song without preamble, voice cracking on the first high note before finding its footing, climbing octaves like stairs to heaven. By the bridge, the theater felt alive under him, vibrations humming through the floorboards. He poured it all in. The ache of his dad's empty chair at Thanksgiving, the sting of playground taunts, the quiet thrill of stolen kisses in alleyways with boys who vanished by dawn. When the last note faded, the silence stretched taut as a wire. Then the director leaned forward, eyes gleaming. "Eli, that was electric. We've got a spot in callbacks next week. Don't ghost us." Applause rippled from the shadows. His family, crammed into the back row like a reluctant jury. Mom was on her feet, clapping furiously, her gold cross necklace swinging. Sophia, his little sister, whooped like she'd won the lottery. But Grandpa? He sat unmoving, jaw set like concrete, eyes boring holes through Eli's chest. The after-party was at a dive bar in Hell's Kitchen, all neon signs and sticky floors, the kind of place where Broadway hopefuls drowned rejections in cheap whiskey. Eli nursed a soda, designated driver duty, while Sophia grilled him on the high note that shook the rafters. Mom hovered, proud but fragile, her fingers twisting the hem of her cardigan. Your father would be so happy, Mijo. He always said you had his soul in your throat. Grandpa Ruiz nursed a rum neat at the end of the booth, silent as a tombstone, but his presence sucked the air from the room. It wasn't until they piled into the subway at 2 a.m., the train rattling north like a mechanical beast, that the old man spoke. The car was half empty, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, casting harsh shadows on graffiti-scarred walls. Eli leaned against a pole, exhaustion pulling at his bones, when Grandpa's voice cut through the rumble. Flashy tricks don't make a man. You're still chasing shadows, just like Javi. Trash in a tuxedo, that's all you'll ever be. The words landed like punches, each one echoing Javier's eulogy, the whispers at the funeral about what killed him really. Not the heart attack, but the unnatural life. Sophia gasped, hand flying to her mouth. Mom shot Grandpa a pleading look. Papa, poor favor. But he waved her off, eyes locked on Eli like a challenge. The train lurched to a stop at 149th Street, doors hissing open to the humid night. Eli's vision blurred, not from tears but rage, hot and metallic on his tongue. You don't know shit about him, he spat, voice low but steady. Dad was more man than you'll ever be. Loved hard, lived true. And me? I'm not your trash. I'm his legacy. He shoved past, boots thudding on the platform, leaving the family in stunned fragments behind him. That night, alone in the cousin's apartment with the city skyline mocking him through smudged windows, Eli pulled out his phone. A text from an unknown number glowed. Saw your audition. Voice like lightning. Coffee tomorrow? Alex. Attached was a headshot, blonde curls, green eyes, the understudy for Fierro in the current run. Eli's stomach flipped, a mix of thrill and terror. Romance had always been his Achilles heel. Fleeting hookups in backrooms, boys who bolted at the first hint of strings. But Alex's smile promised something deeper, like a duet waiting to be sung. By morning, the callback invite burned a hole in his inbox, and Grandpa's words festered like an open wound. Eli laced up his sneakers, grabbed his notebook of half-written lyrics, and headed for Central Park. The paths were alive with joggers and dog walkers, leaves turning early gold under a reluctant sun. He found a bench by the Bethesda fountain, the angel statue watching over him like a guardian, and let the words spill. Verses about buried fathers, mocking grandfathers, and the boy with green eyes who might just rewrite the score. Little did he know, the real drama was just tuning up, the kind that would drag family secrets into the footlights and force everyone to take a bow. Alex Harper was the kind of guy who made New York feel small, like the whole sprawl of concrete and ambition bent toward him. They met at a corner cafe in the village, the one with mismatched mugs and chalkboard menus scrawled in looping cursive. Eli arrived early, nerves jangling like loose change, his audition high still buzzing faintly under his skin. Alex slid into the booth across from him, all easy charm and that understudy glow. Faded wicked tee under a denim jacket, curls tousled like he'd rolled out of a dream. You're even better in daylight, Alex said, grin flashing white against the steam from his latte. That defying gravity. I was in the house seats, incognito. Thought I was gonna levitate myself. Eli laughed, the sound surprising him, loosening the knot Grandpa's barbs had tied in his chest. Over croissants that flaked like autumn leaves, they traded war stories. Alex's Midwestern roots, the church youth group that outed him at 17. Eli's Bronx grit, the dad who'd taught him harmonies while hiding his own heartaches. My old man was Elphaba before Elphaba, Eli said, stirring sugar into black coffee. Fought the world with a song and a smile. Died doing it, I think, pushing too hard to prove he was enough. Alex's hand brushed his across the table, a spark that lingered. Sounds like he won then. Raised a fighter. By the time they parted, Alex's number saved, a tentative rehearsal read-through this weekend? Hanging in the air, Eli felt lighter, like he'd shed a layer of doubt. Romance in the city was a gamble, all smoke and mirrors, but Alex felt real. Solid. The kind of duet partner who harmonized without stealing the solo. Back home, the Ruiz household was a pressure cooker on simmer. Mom had turned the living room into a shrine of worry. Rosary beads on the coffee table. A novena candle flickering for family unity. Sophia cornered him in the kitchen that evening, chopping onions for sancocho with more force than necessary. Abuelo's been on one since the audition. Says you're disgracing the name with your showbiz nonsense. But Mom, she's humming your song under her breath. You're cracking the ice, Eli. He wanted to believe it. But Grandpa Ruiz was a fortress, built on decades of factory shifts and war stories from Nam, where weakness meant death. Javier had been his Achilles heel, the son-in-law he tolerated for Mom's sake, but never embraced. Javi was always different, Grandpa admitted once, over cigars on the stoop, voice thick with something like regret. Too soft. When you came out, it was like seeing him all over again, begging to be broken. Eli had walked away then, but the words haunted him, a low hum under every note he sang. The read-through was at Alex's sublet in Chelsea, a sun-drenched loft with exposed brick and sheet music pinned to every wall like battle flags. 5 other hopefuls crammed in. Sopranos with vibrato like sirens, tenors who could shatter glass. Eli arrived with takeout tie, his contribution to the potluck vibe, and found Alex waiting with a script marked in neon highlighter. We're workshopping the Glenda-Elphaba duet, Alex explained, eyes dancing. You and me. Let's see if we click. They did. More than clicked. As Eli slipped into Elphaba's defiance, voice weaving through the melody like smoke, Alex's Glinda countered with bubbly precision, their tones blending in a way that sent chills racing down Eli's spine. Off-book by the second run, they ad-libbied, laughter bubbling up between lines, hands gesturing wild until fingers tangled mid-air. The others hooted approval. Chemistry alert. But for Eli, it was deeper. A bridge across the chasm Grandpa had dug, a melody that drowned out the trash talk. Word spread fast in the theater grapevine. By midweek, Eli's callback had upgraded to a principal understudy slot Bach, the quiet heart of the show, perfect for his earnest baritone. The call came while he was mid-shift at the coffee shop, steaming oat milk for a line of laptop warriors. Rivera, director here. We want you in rehearsals starting Monday. Non-equity for now, but it's a foot in the door. He hooped into the headset, drawing stares, then texted Alex. Glinda's got her green girl. Dinner to celebrate? That dinner stretched into a walk along the High Line, the old rail tracks blooming with wildflowers under string lights. Alex talked dreams. Leading man someday, maybe rent revival, and Eli confessed fears. The family fracture, the ghost of his dad weighing every step. Grandpa calls us trash, he said, voice cracking as they paused by a railing, Hudson River glittering below. Like loving who we love makes us less. But you make me feel like the lead. Alex turned, cupping Eli's face with hands that smelled of stage grease paint and possibility. Their kiss was tentative at first, lips brushing like a soft opening chord, then deepening into something fierce and affirming. No rush, no heat of the moment. Just 2 souls sinking, the city fading to a distant hum. You're no trash, Alex murmured against his mouth. You're the whole damn orchestra. But harmony doesn't last without dissonance. Rehearsals kicked off in a rented studio off Times Square, mirrors fogging with breath and sweat. Eli threw himself in, blocking scenes with a hunger that bordered on desperation. Bach's arc. Unrequited love for Glinda, quiet loyalty to the outcast. Mirrored his own too closely, lines blurring between script and life. Alex was there too, understudying Fierro, their offstage glances loaded with promise. Then the betrayal slithered in, subtle as a mist cue. It started with a whisper from the SM during notes. Heard your family's loaded? Old money from the island? Eli laughed it off. Ruiz's were blue-collar through and through. But the seed planted. Grandpa had always dangled the inheritance carrot. The brownstone in Harlem, passed down from great-grandparents. If you straighten up, Eli had ignored it. But now, with stage lights in sight, doubt crept. Sophia texted late one night, Abuelo's talking lawyers. Says if you don't quit this phase, the will gets rewritten. Mom's crying. Eli's stomach dropped. The brownstone wasn't just bricks. It was Javier's sanctuary, the place where his dad had hidden love letters in the floorboards, dreamed of equity cards on the walls. Losing it would gut Mom, strand Sophia in foster limbo if things went south. He confronted Grandpa the next Sunday. Family dinner a battlefield of unspoken barbs. The table groaned under pernil and plantains, but the air was thick with tension. Papa, Eli started, fork midway to mouth. This theater thing, it's not a phase. It's me, like Dad. Grandpa's eyes narrowed, fork scraping ceramic like nails on chalkboard. Your father chased whims till it killed him. Heart gave out from the stress, the lies. You think I want that for you? Trash doesn't inherit empires. The room exploded. Mom pleading, Sophia yelling, uncles chiming in with half-baked wisdom. Eli stormed out, slamming the door on sobs and shouts, straight into the rain-slick streets. He didn't call Alex. Pride or fear he couldn't say. Instead, he pounded pavement to the studio, blasting vocals into the empty space until his throat bled raw. Callbacks loomed. The pinnacle. A full scene with Alex, their chemistry the make or break. But as dress rehearsal dawned, Eli uncovered the knife in the dark. Grandpa had pulled strings, whispering to a producer buddy about unreliable family stock, planting seeds of doubt that could tank the contract. Betrayal sharp as a stage dagger. The old man wasn't just mocking. He was sabotaging, all in the name of saving him from Javier's fate. Eli's world tilted, the footlights flickering like a dying star. But in the quiet before the storm, Alex's voice echoed in his mind. You're the whole damn orchestra. Time to play the crescendo. The dress rehearsal studio pulsed with pre-show frenzy. Costume racks rattling like skeletons in a closet, techs barking cues into headsets. Eli stood in the wings, box tweed vest scratching his skin, heart hammering a rhythm faster than the overture. The betrayal burned fresh, Sophia's frantic call at dawn. Abuelo met with the producer last night. Said you're unstable, like Dad's issues run in the blood. They're reconsidering your slot. Grandpa Ruiz, ever the patriarch, wielding legacy like a weapon, twisting love into leverage. Eli had wanted to scream, to shatter the phone against the wall. But instead he dressed in silence, the mirror reflecting a stranger with hollow eyes. Alex found him there, slipping through the curtain with a water bottle and that disarming smile. Hey, green girl, nerves? He leaned in, voice low, thumb tracing Eli's knuckle in a hidden promise. Up close, Alex smelled of fresh laundry and determination, a bomb against the rot. Heard rumors. Your family's involved. Eli's nod was brittle, words sticking like dry toast. Grandpa's playing God. Thinks he's protecting me from becoming Dad. A queer ghost haunting the stage. Alex's face darkened, green eyes flashing storm. Bullshit. He's scared. Of you shining brighter than his rules. Their scene was up third box confession to Glinda, a tapestry of longing and quiet valor. As the lights swelled, Eli stepped into the mark, script forgotten, voice threading vulnerability like silk through steel. I know I'm not the wizard you deserve, he sang, eyes locking with Alex's stand-in Glinda, but really seeing the man who'd kissed him under stars. The notes climbed, raw with the weight of real hurt. Javier's unspoken dreams, Grandpa's venom, the brownstones slipping away like sand. Alex, watching from the sidelines in his Fiero vest, mouthed the harmony, a silent anchor. The director called cut midway, face unreadable. Eli, hold for notes. We've got concerns from upstairs. The room hushed, a collective inhale. Eli's pulse thundered, betrayal's echo amplifying in the silence. Whispers rippled. Family drama. Producers pulling strings? He excused himself to the bathroom, splashing cold water on his face, staring down the drain like it held answers. His reflection fractured, half Javier's gentle brow, half his own fire. Trash? Grandpa's voice sneered in his head. Like your gay dad. But Javier hadn't been trash. He'd been a quiet revolution, designing posters for ACT-UP rallies under pseudonyms, slipping donations to the Ali Forney Center from his meager checks. Eli had found the letters after the funeral. Love notes to a partner lost to AIDS in the 90s, coded in song lyrics. Dad's silence wasn't shame. It was survival. Back in the house, the producer, a silver-haired shark in a cashmere blazer, waited with the director. Son, talent's not the issue, he said, tone oily as backstage coffee. But stability? Your grandfather's a donor, old ties to the board. Raised flags about personal matters. Echoes of your father's history. Eli's fists balled, nails biting palms. My father's history was loving fiercely in a world that hated him for it. And mine? The singing through the hate. You gonna bench me for that? The room crackled, tension thick as fog. Alex stepped forward then, unscripted, voice steady. With all due respect, Mr. Langford, Eli's the heart this show needs. I've seen him carry scenes that'd break lesser men. If family's the metric, half this cast wouldn't make curtain. Murmurs of agreement swelled, choreographer nodding, actors clustering like a Greek chorus. The producer blinked, caught off guard, and for a moment, Eli glimpsed victory's edge. But Grandpa Ruiz chose that hour to storm the castle. He burst through the stage door like a hurricane, Mom trailing in his wake, her face a map of apologies and anguish. Sophia hovered behind, phone clutched like a shield. The old man was apoplectic, cane thumping linoleum, jowls quivering. This ends now, parading like your father, disgracing us all. I built this family from nothing. You tear it down with your perversions. The word perversions hung, a slur wrapped in piety, drawing gasps from the ensemble. Mom reached for him. Papa, he's our blood. But Grandpa wheeled on Eli, eyes wild. Trash. Both of you. Trash that'll bury us. Eli's world narrowed to that rage, years of swallowed retorts rising like bile. He stepped forward, not in anger, but sorrow, voice breaking the spell. Abuelo, you call us trash because we loved outside your lines. Dad hid his heart to keep peace. For you, for Mom. Died with it locked away. But I'm done hiding. The confession poured out then, unbidden. Javier's secret partner. The underground shows in West Village basements. The pride flag folded in his wallet. Gasps rippled anew. Mom's hand flying to her mouth as pieces clicked. The late nights. The design gigs. Grandpa staggered, cane wobbling, face ashen as realization dawned. What? All those years. The fight drained from him, replaced by a hollow ache, the fortress cracking under its own weight. Eli pressed on, tears carving tracks down his cheeks. He was proud, Papa, of me, of us, and this stage. It's not perversion, it's prayer. For him. For every kid like us who gets called trash. The producer cleared his throat, awkward in the rawness. Kid, that was something. Contract's yours. Full equity bump. But the real climax wasn't ink on paper. It was Grandpa sinking onto a prop stool, head in hands, sobs racking his frame. Not fury, but grief unearthed. Mom knelt beside him, Sophia too, the family folding inward like a wounded thing. Alex hovered at Eli's elbow, hand warm on his back, whispering, "You slayed the witch." As the cast dispersed, hugs and backslaps raining down, Eli lingered. Grandpa looked up, eyes red-rimmed, voice a rasp. "I thought protecting you meant breaking the cycle. Javi never told me. Thought he was ashamed." Eli knelt, bridging the gap. He wasn't. He just loved you enough to let you believe your truths. A beat. Then the old man's hand, gnarled, trembling, clasped Eli's. "Sing for him, Mijo." louder than I ever could. The footlights beckoned, opening night a week away, but Eli knew the real stage was here, mending fractures with melody, turning betrayal to bridge. Alex pulled him aside in the alley, rain pattering on dumpsters like applause. That was braver than any aria, he said, pulling Eli close. Their kiss tasted of salt and rain, a vow sealed in the downpour. Romance not as escape, but anchor. Yet shadows lingered, whispers of the will, the brownstone's deed unsigned. And in the quiet, Eli wondered, could forgiveness rewrite the score, or would old scores demand an encore of pain? Opening night glittered like fool's gold, the Gershwin marquee ablaze with Wickett's emerald promise, ticket holders in sequins and suits, milling the TKTS steps like stars in orbit. Eli Rivera, understudy no more, waited in the wings as Bach's spotlight alter ego, heart a war drum under his vest. The betrayal's dust had settled unevenly, Grandpa's handshake a fragile truce, the producer's contract a hard-won shield, but the air hummed with unfinished business. Javier's ghost felt closest here, in the creak of floorboards and the scent of rosin, urging Eli toward the finale he couldn't script. The show unfolded like clockwork, Glinda's bubbly entrance drawing whoops, Elphaba's no one mourns wrenching gasps. Eli's entrance cue hit mid-act 1. The Tin Man's lament a quiet gut punch that hushed the house. He poured legacy into every line. Dad's hidden anthems, the barrio boys who'd never see this stage. From the orchestra seats, his family watched. Mom dabbing eyes with a program, Sophia live tweeting in hushed awe, and Grandpa Ruiz, cane hooked over his knee, face a mask of reluctant wonder. Alex, dashing as Fiero in the wings, caught his eye during a quick change. Thumbs up, lips mouthing kill it. Love in the theater was shorthand. A glance, a grip, a harmony held. Intermission brought the storm's whisper. Eli slipped into the lobby for air, the crowd a blur of chatter and Chardonnay flutes. There, by the concessions, stood Tomas Ruiz, Grandpa's estranged brother, the black sheep who'd fled to California decades back, chasing hippie nonsense that smelled suspiciously of rainbow flags. Tio Tomas, broad-shouldered and silver-foxed, with Javier's same crinkle-eyed smile. "Mijo," he boomed, enveloping Eli in a bear hug that smelled of eucalyptus and old vinyl. "Your papa would have framed the poster. Hell, he'd be here, front row, ugly crying." Eli pulled back, stunned. "Tio? You knew?" Tomas nodded, glancing toward the seats where Grandpa nursed a program like a grudge. "Knew Javi better than blood. We were partners back in the plague days before he met your mom, settled for safety. He never stopped loving, though. Wrote me letters, coded in less misquotes." The revelation landed soft as confetti, rewriting Eli's grief. Dad hadn't buried his heart alone. He'd shared it, in shadows and stamps. "Why now?" Eli asked, voice thick. Tomas's eyes softened. "Heard about the family blow-up. Flew in to set the record straight. Your abuelo. He's a stubborn ass, but he's hurting. Lost his own brother to the war. Thought queerness was another battlefield." He pressed a worn envelope into Eli's hand. Javier's last letter, postmarked weeks before the heart attack. "Sing for the ones who can't, Eli." Louder than fear. Eli's throat closed, tears hot and unbidden. The envelope burned through Act 2, a talisman as the plot twisted toward climax. Elphaba's flight, the ensemble's defiant chorus. Eli's big number, "I'm not that girl," twisted the knife, his voice cracking on the bridge, raw with the ache of what-ifs. The audience leaned in, spellbound, but it was Grandpa's face in the front row that anchored him. Jaw slack, eyes glistening, the fortress finally breached. As the final notes faded, cheers erupted, but Eli's gaze locked with the old man's. A silent duet of reckoning. Curtain call was chaos, bows rippling like waves, roses tossed from balconies. Alex yanked Eli into a sweaty embrace on stage, whispering, "You're magic," before the leads took center. Off stage, the family converged. Mom sobbing joyfully, Sophia snapping selfies, Tio Tomas clapping Grandpa's back with brotherly force. But the old man hung back, cane tapping nervously, until Eli approached, the envelope clutched like evidence. "Papa," Eli started, voice steady despite the adrenaline crash. "Dad loved you, flaws and all. But he loved us too. This life, this love. Don't let regret be your encore." He handed over the letter, Tomas's nod urging him on. Grandpa took it with trembling fingers, scanning the faded ink. His breath hitched, Javier's words leaping off the page. "Forgive the old man his armor, Eli. Underneath, he's just scared of losing more." The theater's hush amplified the sob that escaped, Grandpa crumpling forward, envelope to chest. "I'm sorry," he rasped, the words a dam breaking. "Called you trash to toughen you. Like they tried with me. Javi, your dad, he was the brave one. I see it now. In you." Mom gasped, hand over heart, as Eli pulled him into an awkward hug. Cane clattering, frames colliding, but holding. The family encircled them. A messy knot of Ruiz resilience. Tears, laughter, Tio Tomas cracking jokes about finally joining the Rainbow Brigade. No grand gestures, just human, flawed, mending. The after-party at Sardi's was a blur of caricatures and champagne toasts, Broadway's elite mingling with Eli's improbable crew. Alex stole him away to a quiet booth, their knees knocking under the table, fingers interlacing like puzzle pieces. "That letter, your dad was a poet," Alex said, eyes soft. "And you? You're the verse that heals." Eli leaned in, forehead to forehead, the din fading. Romance here wasn't fireworks. It was this, steady, sung in whispers, a counterpoint to solitude. Dawn found them on the stoop of the brownstone, the will signed over coffee that morning. No conditions, just Grandpa's scrawled for Javier's boy. Mom planned renovations. A music room for Eli's demos, a guest suite for Alex's visits. Sophia dreamed of Juilliard additions, inspired by her brother's spotlight. Even Grandpa softened, muttering about learning the tunes. His cane now a prop for tentative dance steps at family barbecues. Months blurred into runs, Wicked extended, Eli promoted to principal when box actor decamped to L.A. Alex landed next to normal leads, their schedules a tango of matinees and midnight calls. Love deepened in margins. Picnics in Prospect Park, duets in dive bars, Javier's letters read aloud by lamplight. Betrayal's scar faded to a faint line, a reminder that family wasn't blood alone, but the stories we choose to sing. On the one-year anniversary of opening night, Eli stood on that same Gershwin stage, post-curtain, house lights up. Grandpa in the aisle, clapping till his palms blistered, Mom beaming beside him. "You silenced us all, Mijo," the old man said later, over pastelitos at home. "Made me hear the music I'd ignored." Eli smiled, pulling Alex close. Public now, unapologetic. The city thrummed outside, a symphony of second chances. In the end, it wasn't triumph or tragedy, but grace. A grandson's voice echoing a father's, mending a grandfather's silence. Trash? No. They were the song that lingered, humanistic and whole, long after the lights dimmed.